In this series, we're exploring the idea of interest and how to be thinking about interest and really studying and understanding interest at a high level. See, interest, when you think interest, what comes to mind? A lot of people think very negative things. And what we want to do is we want to break you free from that limiting belief, because interest can be one of the best wealth building tools if you just change the way you think about it. And in this series, and that's my goal, is to help you understand that when it comes to interest, there are 4 groups. And only one of those groups is actually using interest to their advantage. And so what my goal is to move you towards and become in that group, which is a very small group, by the way. So you already watched the first training video in the series. This is the second video. Let's go ahead and buckle up and dive in, because this is going to really open your eyes. I'm about to make the invisible visible, okay? So this assumes you've watched the previous video in this series, and that's when we talked about interest. And make sure you watch this. The link is right below this video. We're going to have now 3 people in this world, okay? Let's just say that this is the money person. And again, this is the whole world, okay? This is the whole world. There are 3 people. And there's $1,000 total in this world, okay? So let's make this a little bit more interesting. Let's call this person Sam, and you'll see why in a minute. And let's call this person Consumer. So let's just say that this person has all the money in the world. He's got $1,000. He lends this money to Sam. So I'm going to say $1,000. He lends $1,000 at, say, 3%. And Sam lends this money to the consumer. Let's just say $1,000 at, say, 9%. So the consumer now is going to pay in 1 year. He's going to pay the $1,000 plus the $90 in interest. Sam is going to pay this person the $1,000 plus the $30 in interest. So all he's doing is taking the 90 and he's passing 30 out of that, and he's keeping 60. Now, obviously, consumer here owes this money because he doesn't have it. But let's just see. When he first started, he started with $0, and Sam started with $0. Now we're going to introduce inflation in this scenario. So we're going to introduce inflation at, say, 9%. Don't ask me where I got that. I just made it up. So that means today, when this scenario first started, coffee, which represents goods and services, was $1. So I'm going to draw a coffee cup here. It's $1, okay? In the future, meaning in 1 year, coffee is $1.09. Why? Because we assumed inflation 9%. So now your coffee goes up to $9. So our money guy here started with 1,000. So this is what he started with. Let's look at the scenario again. Lent money, $1,000 at 3%, so he's going to get back $30. Sam took the money, lent it to the consumer at 9%, and so the consumer paid him $90. Sam paid $30 out of the 90 and kept $60. So in the future, in 1 year, he has $60. Okay. The money guy has in the future $1,030. So he's making money, and our consumer here in 1 year owes $90. So he's minus $90. This person made money. This person made money. But let's look at how much coffee they can afford. So when he first started, this money person, he was able to buy, because coffee was $1, he was able to buy 1,000 coffees. In the future, he's able to buy 1,030 divide by 1.09, which is the cost of the coffee in the future. That's equal roughly to $944.95. I'm sorry, not dollars. This is coffees. So he went from being able to afford 1,000 coffees to being able to afford 944 coffees. Sam was able to buy 0 coffees. Now, why do we always look at the coffees? Because ultimately, it's not about coffee. It's about the food we put on our table. It's about our insurance. It's about our car payments. It's about our living expenses. It's about everything we pay for every single day. Okay. After 1 year, he has $60. $60, we take $60, divide by the coffee price, 1.9, gives us roughly 55.05 coffees. What about this person here? His number of coffees is dwindling. He couldn't afford. So in terms of coffees, he had 0 coffee. Now he can't even afford. He is negative, right? So he cannot afford any coffees. So what happened to his purchasing power? So his purchasing power went down. I'm going to write PP for purchasing power. This person made money, but also his purchasing power. Notice he went from 0 coffees to 55 coffees. He's able to buy more. So his purchasing power went up. But he also made money. I'm going to put made money. Okay. This person didn't make money. This person made money. Remember, he went from $1,000 to $1,030. So he made money, right? So he made money, but his purchasing power went down because now he can't afford the same number of coffees. Now, why am I telling you this? Because there's a big difference between making money and purchasing power. How many people do you think are making money and actually know what's happening to their purchasing power? And I'll tell you right now, it's very, very little. Very few people. So let's step back for a second and again, look at the big picture here. We started with a world where there's $1,000. We introduced inflation. And so we said after 1 year, inflation goes up to 9%. So our coffee goes from $1 to $1.09. Our money person lent money, got back money, thought he made money, but his purchasing power went down. He has no clue. Sam is the only one that made money here and increased his purchasing power. Our consumer is in bad shape. So there's a big difference. So I'm going to put takeaways here. Big difference between making money, MM, and purchasing power. So in the previous video, we talked about some people pay interest and some people receive interest. But what's this person doing? This person is passing interest. You see, he's playing a game of what's called spreads. He's sitting in the middle and he's making a spread. By the way, most investors that are sophisticated enough are doing this. Most investors that have no clue what they're doing this. Okay. There are 4 types of people. I'm going to just put their heads here. Okay. There are people that pay interest, people that receive interest, people that pass interest, and people that say no interest. I'm going to cover each one of those. The pay interest is losing the game. Notice here the person receiving interest. He's losing in this case. The one passing interest, meaning he sits in the middle and passes the interest, is the one winning the game. And the one that says no interest, okay, this is an all cash person. I'll cover that in a separate video, but you're going to find out this person is losing too. Okay. So let's keep going here. We're using simple math here. At this point, I want you to notice how many coffees were there in the world before. There were 1,000 coffees, right? Because we had $1,000. Each coffee was $1. We had 1,000 coffees. Now we still have 1,000 coffees. Notice here that this person now has 55 of the coffees. This person has 940, almost 45. Okay, let's just round this. We'll say 55 and 945. What happened? When you hear the word transfer of wealth, We're not necessarily talking about dollars here. We're talking about purchasing power. This person didn't lose any money, so he doesn't think anything happened to him. But what he doesn't realize is that he actually gave away some of his coffee to here. He transferred his ability to buy coffee wealth to this person without knowing it. This person obviously is losing. So this person, as long as they keep looking at making money, they're playing the wrong game. So this is what transfer of wealth is meant, is in terms of purchasing power, not in terms of dollars. So if you just keep your money in the bank, this is what Robert Kiyosaki was talking about. Savers are losers. Okay, what he's talking about are people that keep their money in the bank, and this happens to be the bank. By the way, this here is Sam could be the bank. Sam could be any sophisticated investor. Many people play Sam, but ends up being a very small group as a percentage of the population. Sam plays the game of spreads. So I'm going to put here game of spreads. The person that knows how to play the game of spreads, and not just any spreads, folks. We're not talking about the risky spreads. We're talking about knowing how to, and we'll cover that more in future videos. But what does this mean? We're talking about stable spreads, okay? Not the crazy spreads out there with the trading and all that stuff. But so this person, Sam, knows how to play the game. And he's playing the game of spreads, and therefore you can see in the math he's winning. I'm going to write in here, savers are losers. Again, this is from, I'm going to put double quotes, from Kiyosaki. That's what he's talking about. He's not talking about you're actually losing dollars. He's talking about you're losing and you're transferring your wealth, your purchasing power to someone else. When we talk about the game of spreads, we're talking about you want to be the one passing interest. And we're talking about working with stable assets. When you look at a chart here of, let's say this is time, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and this is the coffee price, which represents inflation in this case. So let's just say you started at $1, and over time, this is what's happening with inflation. So this is price of coffee in our example. What this person, the money person, ends up being the saver, what he doesn't realize is that in terms of purchasing power, he's losing. He can't even keep up. So he thinks his net worth is going up. That's what he sees. He sees his net worth going up, but it's not even keeping up with inflation. He has to be on this side for it to make money. But he's on this side. And so what happens is he's actually losing in terms of purchasing power PP. He's on this side, but he doesn't see it because in his mind, he has more dollars, but he cannot afford the same stuff he was able to afford, a year ago. And guess what? This is what most people what happens to most people. They only find out they cannot afford this stuff. They get to retirement. And that's when they realize, wait a minute, something is wrong. I can't even afford the stuff I was able to afford 20 years ago, even though I made money, okay? The consumer is on the paying side of interest. Inflation is affecting him negatively, so he's on the paying side and he's not using his money efficiently. He's over here. The person, saver, or the money person here, he's on the receiving side of interest. Yes, he's on the receiving side of interest. I'm going to put it here, okay? But he's on the paying side of inflation because he has no idea what's happening. And he's not using his money efficiently, so he's on the paying side of opportunity cost. Finally, the Sam, he's on the receiving side. So he's passing interest. He's on the receiving side of interest. When you're on the passing interest, you're on the receiving side. And he's on the receiving side of inflation because now inflation is helping him. See that? He's increasing his purchasing power and he knows how to use his money efficiently. So notice that Sam is only on the receiving side. So my point is this. Ask yourself, are you on the receiving side of all these forces? And the answer is probably no. Most people might be receiving, one or two correctly, but not everything. You want to set everything up, because in here, in the middle of this, is a financial system. Are you on the paying side or on the receiving side? You can only be on one of two sides. And just because you might have one thing here, overall, you're still on the paying side. You might have one thing here, you might be on the receiving side of interest, but everything else is on the paying side. Overall, you're still on the paying side. I'm going to tell you the majority of the population are here on the paying side, and very few people are on the receiving side. That's what we're talking about. So if you go back to the 4 types of people when it comes to interest, you don't want to be on the paying side. You don't want to be just on the receiving side. You want to be on the passing, meaning you're creating what's called an arbitrage. So hopefully you enjoy that content. If you want more of that, go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel. We are big believers in sharing content and training that can change your life. Also, for anyone wanting a copy of the drawing I just did, download the PDF of that right below this video. You'll see a link in the description. Go ahead and download that. In fact, I would highly recommend you read some of the description we have, because we always have links to videos in there that might be very appropriate or correspond to the one you just watched. Now, as a company, all we do day in and day out is we help people like you start seeing a transformation in their life. We focus on implementation. So anytime you're ready, we're here for you. Go ahead and click on the link below and let us know when you're ready, and we'll get you going, okay? So with that, I'll see you in the next video.